Well, there really is no equivalency. All of my emails that relate to any form of government work, which was mainly scheduling and logistics and managing the fact that I have a home life and a work life, are all part of the public record.
But your father hammered Hillary Clinton on this, said that it was criminal, she should be locked up.
I think she's pathetic. I think she should be in jail for what she did with her emails, okay?
So the idea of lock her up doesn't apply to you?
No.
That was Ivanka Trump when she was a senior advisor in the United States government, despite no Americans wanting her there, saying that she is above the law. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. I wanted to show you that video because the nepotism, the corruption, the entitlement of Donald Trump and his family was a staple of when he disgraced our White House, and that entitlement we see right now. When accountability is necessary, you have Ivanka Trump trying to run away from and evade the trial subpoena in the New York Attorney General civil fraud case, saying that she's not a New York resident, so therefore there's no jurisdiction over her. She also throws her family under the bus and say, look, I'm not in the case anymore. They're in the case. And Judge Engoron, who's presiding over the New York civil fraud case, already ruled against Donald Trump and my brothers and my family members. So this case should just be about damages. What do you want to ask me any questions about? And then she says that even if the New York Attorney General is trying to subpoena companies that she runs that are domiciled or located in New York, she doesn't think that she should have to testify because she says that she's just a Florida resident. She's got no connections with New York, that there's no personal jurisdiction over her, and she may just throw under the bus some of the people who work for her and have them testify at the New York Attorney General civil fraud case. It is utterly pathetic. I want to show you the motion to quash subpoena that Ivanka Trump just filed, trying to avoid testifying at the trial in either week 4 or 5 when her testimony is expected. It may even go to week 6. Before doing that, though, I just want to show you these things just to remind you we should never forget the level of corruption that existed during the Trump administration. Here is Jared and Ivanka headline. They made $640 million while they were given positions at the White House. Jared Kushner was not even qualified to obtain a security clearance, yet he held major positions, received classified information, and oh yeah, the Saudi Crown Prince MBS during the Trump administration boasted that Jared Kushner was in his pocket. The Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman told Confidence that Kushner discussed the names of royal family members opposed to his power grab and gave MBS essentially a kill list. Oh, and by the way, was there a quid pro quo report? Jared Kushner receives $2 billion from the Saudi Crown Prince as an investment into Jared Kushner's fund, even though Jared Kushner's not a fund manager. Here's a Vanity Fair headline. Kushner's $2 billion Saudi check appears even more comically corrupt than previously thought. Here's another one. China grants 18 trademarks in 2 months to Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka. The corruption was so utterly outrageous, and the entitlement was next level. The nepotism was utterly despicable. So every time the MAGA Republicans try to say Hunter Biden this, Hunter Biden doesn't have a position in the White House. Hunter Biden's a private citizen, and all you'll talk about is Hunter Biden, like naked photos and things that have nothing to do with Joe Biden at all. And it's just despicable when there's the glaring corruption. But they want to distract you from that. We're not going to let them distract you from that anyway. So Ivanka Trump just filed a memorandum of law in support of non-party Ivanka Trump's motion to try to quash the subpoena ad testificandum issued by plaintiff, the New York Attorney General. That's a subpoena ad testificandum. Testic is a subpoena to testify, and that is something that Ivanka Trump does not want to testify at the trial. She doesn't want to show up. It is worth noting that Ivanka Trump was successful on her appeal to the appellate division, First Department in New York, where based on statute of limitations, she basically threw her family under the bus and said, I wasn't involved in the Trump organization during, the relevant time period up until 2016, where the statute of limitations extends 6 years back or so. So February, there's a tolling agreement, so it's a little complicated. But anyway, February 2016 is basically the statute. The Court of Appeals said that, well, Ivanka says that it was her brother's fault and threw them under the bus, so she's got out of the case. So she's not a defendant anymore. And so as a non-party, in order for her to have to testify, there has to be jurisdiction. You can't just subpoena in unlike federal cases, in state cases, civil cases, and this is different than criminal cases, because in criminal cases, there is a uniform criminal subpoena act where you have to request a subpoena in your state, and then once that's approved, you bring that to the other state, and then a judge where the witness is located then compels the testimony of the witness in an out-of-state criminal case. But there isn't a similar thing in civil trials where money damages is the remedy. So there has to be some jurisdiction to get Ivanka to testify. So Ivanka's like, I'm a Florida resident. I'm not a New York resident, so you don't have jurisdiction over me there. That's her first argument in this motion to quash. Her second argument is, well, the New York Attorney General is trying to subpoena certain LLCs and corporate entities that are based in New York. One's called TTT Consulting LLC. One's called Ivanka OPO LLC. Another's called 502 Park Project LLC. And Ivanka says you can't get Ivanka to testify based on subpoenaing the person most knowledgeable, what's called the PMK, of those entities, because Ivanka says that as a corporate officer, she wants to have the ability to pick which of the employees should get to testify instead of her, which is a very bizarre proposition because it's not, I doubt these entities have multiple employees who know anything that she knows. So what, she's going to throw like an assistant under the bus and say that they work at one of these LLCs. So that's her other argument. And the interesting argument where she throws her family under the bus is this fourth argument. Even if Ms. Trump were subject to this court's jurisdiction and was properly served, because one of the arguments she claims she wasn't properly served, but that's a bogus argument. She goes, even if Ms. Trump were subject to this court's jurisdiction and was properly served with the subpoenas, neither of which is true, the court's summary judgment order limited the trial to damages and causes of action for which Ms. Trump's testimony is unnecessary due to being redundant of matters already in the record or immaterial to the issues in the case. So she's basically saying, look, Judge, why do you need me here? My brothers and my dad already lost. You're going to get the testimony of them. What am I going to be adding to this at all? And then finally, in the motion to quash, she says, look, if you actually compel Ivanka to have to testify, please limit the testimony, and it can't be overbroad. And they say that the New York Attorney General wants to make it overbroad, and it's going to be too difficult for Ivanka to have to answer all of these questions, which is just total and utter crap. And just think about that. You have Ivanka, who refuses to even support her family, refuses to show up, is resisting a subpoena with all of these, in my view, kind of just spurious and bogus arguments and making jurisdictional claims to try to hide, throwing her family under the bus, doing everything to avoid testifying. It is really, really ridiculous. And it just reminded me too, though, the relationship that she had with Donald Trump and has with Donald Trump. And after all of that, not testifying. Here was one of the original videos that we made at MeidasTouch. It's called Creepy Trump, and it explores his, we made this about 3 years ago, and it talks about his relationship with Ivanka and just how creepy he is. Play this clip.
A lot of really creepy statements, actions for sure, but statements that he's made in the past that make me very uncomfortable, certainly as a mother, but as a person who breathes air.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Really creepy statements.
If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Oh, it's so weird. Stop. You know what? You are sick. Yeah.
It makes me very uncomfortable that he would look at certain other Americans the way he apparently has in the past.
What does Tiffany have of Marlon's?
She's got Marlon's legs.
Creepy.
We don't know whether or not she's got this part yet, but time will tell.
What's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
He's definitely not a typical father.
Creepy.
Well, Ivanka's trying to run away and evade the subpoena to testify. We will keep you updated on what happens next. But it's, I wanted to show you that video at the outset with the interview when she goes, yeah, it doesn't apply to me. Nothing applies to me. And it just highlights a further issue, which is who wants to see these people back in positions of power? It's so embarrassing for our country. It's so embarrassing. And let's not forget how vast that corruption is. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.